Chapter 21. A Very Exciting Time. The children, Pixie and Winks, shut their eyes. Mr. Spells began to mutter some magic words under his breath. Then he spoke some aloud, and then he suddenly shouted 3 spell words at the top of his voice, making everyone jump. There was a silence. Then Mr. Spells spoke in his ordinary voice. "You can open your eyes now. The spell is done." They opened their eyes and looked round them in wonder. They were in the very biggest room they had ever seen in their lives. The floor stretched endlessly away from them. The walls seemed miles away. Not far from them was a colossal wooden pillar, or what looked like one. The ceiling seemed to have disappeared, or else it was so far away they couldn't see it. Certainly there was no sky above them, so probably the ceiling was still there. "What is that enormous wooden post?" said Peter in wonder. "It wasn't here just now." "That's the leg of the table," said Mr. Spells, surprisingly. "What do you mean?" said Peter. "It's much too big for that. And look, that's the wooden pillar I mean. It's over there. Where have the chalk circles gone?" "We're still standing in the middle of them," said Mr. Spells with a laugh. "Do you mean to say that you don't know what has happened?" "I do," said Pixie. "You have used a very powerful go small spell, Mr. Spells, haven't you? Goodness, I'm awfully afraid that you weren't going to stop the spell soon enough. I thought we were going to shrink away to nothing. How big are we?" "Smaller than mice," said Mr. Spells. "I wanted to make us small enough to creep under the door, you see." "How clever of you," said Molly. "I see what has happened now. Why, the ceiling, it looks so far away, and the table leg looks like a great wooden pillar, and why can't we see the chalk circles? Well, we'd have to walk a long way to get to them now." "Quite right," said Mr. Spells. "Now I think we'd better make a move in case the giant comes back and guesses what I've done. I'm glad the spell went so well. Sometimes a powerful spell like that makes loud noises, and I've known it to make lightning come around the circle before." "Goodness," said Peter. "I wish it had. I would have enjoyed our own private little storm." "Now, the thing is, where has the door gone?" said Pixie. "We've gone so small that the room is simply enormous, and the wall where the door is seems like it's miles away. We'd better begin walking right round the walls until we come to the door." But Mr. Spells knew where the door was. Carrying the wishing chair, which had gone small too, he led them for what seemed like miles over the floor, and they at last came to where the door was fitted into the wall. A draught blew at them as they came near to the enormous door. "That's the draught blowing under the bottom of the door," explained Mr. Spells. "Now, I'm going to squeeze under first to see that everything is safe. Be ready to follow me when you hear me call." He disappeared under the door, bending himself double, and soon they heard his voice. "Yes, come along. It's quite all right." One by one they squeezed under the door and found themselves in what they supposed must be the room outside, but now, of course, it seemed like a very vast, dark place indeed. "Shall I make us our own right size again, or shall I keep us small?" wondered Mr. Spells. "On the whole, I think I'll keep us small." He led them across the room and down a passage, making them all keep very close to the bottom of the wall. It's a very good thing that he did so, too, because round the corner they heard the sound of tremendous footsteps that shook the floor and made it tremble, and it was a giant coming along the passage. In a trice, Mr. Spells pulled them all into what appeared to be some sort of a mouse hole, but it seemed as large as a cave to the children. They crouched there until the thundering footsteps had gone by, and then out they went as fast as they could. "I want to find the front door if I can," said Mr. Spells. "We can easily slip under that. It must be at the end of this passage." But before they reached it, a thunderous noise made them all jump nearly out of their skins. "Bang, bang, thud, rat-a-tat-tat. What is it?" cried Molly, and she caught hold of Mr. Spells. "What can it be?" Mr. Spells laughed. "I think I can guess what it is," he said. "It's Pixie's cousin, Sleep Alone. Edward, do not tease Simone. Edward." Excuse me for a moment.